Yeah, I can't remember whether it was one or nominated.
Best screenplay or best.
I think it was best screenplay.
Yeah.
Was it Branagh write the screenplay?
Best director or something.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think it did. I don't think it did.
Strong start. He directed the Hamlet.
You're very welcome to Belfast Film Society. We're going to be discussing Belfast, obviously.
Okay, mark it. Okay, scene one, take one.
Scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like the greatest film ever
Brilliant.
made.
Yeah.
1,
The opposite of that?
the opposite of that.
I think Belfast, people from this here province, because we can't even decide what we want to call it without being political, we're always going to be the toughest critics. I can't normally listen to our accent. And the sanitisation of the Belfast accent that's on screen to make it more palatable for people around the world.
Even a sanitised Belfast accent would have been appreciated rather than accents from all over the island, all in one wee street.
People still didn't understand it.
No.
There was still talk that they still had to have
Subtitles. Well, we use
Because I'm
subtitles.
the age I am, I was very aware that an awful lot of it wasn't right. I know it was in black and white, but I found an awful lot of the greyness of the film and the clothes even. I was wearing leather hot pants at that
I thought you
stage.
still got
Sexy
them.
bitch.
And I was an I get an awful lot of things like that were Kenneth Branagh, who never stayed in Belfast.
No.
He was a guy that left Belfast.
Like my mum lived in one of those streets and she was burnt out in 1969 and they had to come up and leave their house with all their stuff on the back of the coal van.
But that's you. You have a direct experience of this, and you have a context around which you can place this. This was contextless because Kenneth Branagh is trying to hedge his bets. He doesn't bringing in context brings in politics, and he was trying to run away from that. And you're right, he has no connection to this place. Remember, he used to do the Billy plays back in the day. He could not find Northern Ireland accent if it was up his hole. It was absolutely atrocious. So this is his false memory. This is a love letter to his fake childhood. It's the same way Cliff Richard was born in India. If Cliff Richard made a Bhangra album, you'd be laughing him out of town. You know what I mean? It's like, this is his Bhangra album.
I mean,
Film for
I
him.
think that's a bit harsh because part of me goes, his family was clearly from here and it is a bit of a mea culpa maybe to Belfast people for like, oh, I left. It's easy to kind of to throw shade on him and say, oh, but because he's made it.
I don't think he had much of a connection there until it became useful because we like to throw money. We're very grateful for anybody to claim an association with here.
Yeah.
And he walked at Lord Sir, whatever the fuck his title is, came in here, took our money, made a film about it's all misty-eyed, but it's decontextualized, and I find that really
But
disturbing.
it is true
It's like,
with children that they do blank out all of that sort of stuff that's
yeah, I
going
know,
on
but
in
you
my
can't have
memories
your
of
cake and
children.
eat it because it is through a child's eyes, but it's also not through a child's eyes. You also hear adults talking, and you see adults driving the narrative, and they seem to be none the wiser about the sectarian divisions as much as the child does.
It was like almost as though they were afraid to be adversarial on either side in case they provoked a negative reaction.
That also spilled into how it was made. That black and white and those working class streets felt really pristine and anaesthetised. There wasn't a bit of grime anywhere.
There's nothing
There was not a hair out of place. The shirts were starched and white,
Yep.
and everybody was fucking pretty.
And that's not what
you
people
know what
were
I mean?
like.
And 20-year-olds look like 20-year-olds, not like 40-year-olds who had a 40-a-day habit.
Also, bearing in mind this is filmed during COVID, so
It was filmed in
That's why
London.
it had black and white.
somewhere near London.
It was certainly, it was a set, clearly. It
was
didn't
a
even
set.
look realistic. It was like made of cardboard. I mean, the thing is, I mean, if that had been filmed in colour, he wouldn't have won an Oscar. He was thinking ahead. He went, put a bit of black and white in that, roll in the Oscars.
Did he
'cause
get an Oscar
So
for it?
IMDb fact.
Did he?
Number 2, Kenneth Branagh is the third Irishman to win an Oscar for screenwriting after George Bernard Shaw for Pygmalion, Neil Jordan for The Crying Game.
What did
Now,
it win the Oscar for? Sorry, exactly.
Screenwriting.
In terms of the screenwriting, I think it really was.
Do you think some of the dialogue was really like, follow your heart, I could explode with the passions that are within me right now, Bridie.
There were some
two
wee,
outdoor toilets.
I think, in terms of verisimilitude, there were some wee turns of phrase in there that I looked at and went, I still say that. I still say that.
Oh,
The
I
colloquialisms.
nearly felt like putting inverted commas around them because
Yeah.
they were pushed to the fore so much, those sayings, that this is a Belfast saying, this
Yeah,
is a
yeah,
real
totally.
Belfast saying.
It was
And then there was the
anthropological, you
jokes
know.
that were like, this is a joke now. Were you seeing the granda, the cholesterol joke?
Yeah.
At least you'll have the
Cholesterol.
highest in
Yeah.
something. And it kind of felt like there should have been canned laughter or something there. It was a wee bit give a
Yeah.
headpiece,
That's
wasn't
That
it?
would have improved that film. It wasn't for us. I don't think it's for a Belfast audience. It's
Well-
for people over the water.
It's
The
the
mainland, the sun,
Americanized
call it.
like dream of Ireland, what it used to be like.
This is filmmaking. This is show business. I mean, it maybe is for a wider audience. Is there anything inherently wrong with
You
it?
say a whiter audience?
A wider
Oh,
audience?
well, you see, yeah. Well, Mr. Singh, don't fucking Mr. Singh.
Yeah.
And then there was brown representation in the totally realistic 1969, an Asian teacher and a Chinese and a black kid in a classroom. Abdul, what's the capital of? It was absolutely. But it's meant to be colourblind, or was it Kenneth Branagh not having lived here and not understanding that we weren't England? We didn't have immigration back then. I grew up here in the 80s, and the only person who was browner than my dad was the guy who ran the Tanfastic tanning salon on Lisburn Road. There was no brown people here.
There
It
was some brown people here.
There was one or two, yes, I agree, but they were usually students or they were studying.
There's a few in the
There's a small
Royal.
change, but
My husband
But they were not-
is
they were-
a brown Englishman,
Gets
right?
in.
Get me. If I had married him 20 years ago even, people would have just assumed that I had met a soldier. Because the one thing they did get right, you know, the black English soldier at the start of it,
Aye.
he was a bit well-heeled, his accent. It
He was
didn't
a-
really
yeah.
fit well because they
Yeah.
would have been more working class. But
Totally, like, yeah.
he was like, no, sir. I laughed at one stage when they said, set down your rifle. As if. Do you know what I mean?
They go, no thanks, madam. I'll keep my rifle if that's all right.
Yeah, used to ask to look through them, but they'd never frickin' set them
At least
down.
it was accurate though. If the Brits were all middle class accented, so were the bloody working class North Belfast family of Jimmy Dornan. His kids went to Methody if they went anywhere. Father, why do they hate us so? We're just simple sons of a
His kids
joy
went to
now.
Cam- I thought Judi Dench, silently, when Judi Dench wasn't speaking, and
She said it best.
But unfortunately, she's not a great accent.
Although there was part of me that actually wondered, was Kenneth Branagh's granny from the south?
Making excuses though.
Yeah.
I
You were
am.
building. You
I
were
can confirm that
building
she
a story
wasn't.
around.
Yeah, I
I
was.
must have been thinking all the while, I could do that better.
Oh, it certainly was.
Totally do that.
Did you go for that role?
No, it was never advertised, as far as I know.
Why is it that local actors, when they're acting, can't really do a Belfast accent? I've seen this on the stage a lot. You ever see this?
Yeah.
People from here, when they go on stage or perform, their accent goes all funny. When
That's
they're from
one of
here.
my main bugbears, and they pronounce
Weird.
their ings, which we don't
Yeah,
do.
yeah, totally.
Their I, and they'll go, I'm doing this.
Yeah, there's suddenly presenting the weather
right.
forecast on UTV. It's like, what the fuck? Remember when Brad Pitt played in IRA, man?
The Devil's Own.
Fucking insane, yeah.
My uncle drank with him whenever he was over trying to pick up the accent. Is it any
Yeah.
wonder it was shite?
Why is it we get so offended about the whole accent and people have to be from Belfast? Like, do English people get, or do...
Well, it's,
you know,
I mean, how do you feel about someone blacking up for a role?
Because we listen to American and British accents all the time
all
on the
we get,
TV.
yeah.
But then now we've got Dairy Girls and they're watching it. So you're like, do you know what it is? You can learn to listen in. Whenever I'm in England and people go to me, slow down, darling, I go,
Yeah.
keep up, dear. Do you know what I mean? Like,
This is the thing about this film. I mean, half the cast was English, but those that weren't, they couldn't find any working class actors to play working class people from here.
I used to take wee drama classes whenever I get out of uni. I thought I was going to be Augusto Boal. I was going to work with all my fellow oppressed. And there's the amount of talent that there is here to draw from.
Yeah.
And yet TV production casting is mainly full of nepo babies
Totally.
who can
Well,
afford to live for a year and work an unpaid placement.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I actually termed it social appropriation, because they use our struggles and then cast it with people who have never,
Totally,
who
yeah.
really have to act.
But those are the
because
people that are
they
more
can't
confident,
identify.
that have the training and the resources to do it, and they said, I can play working class.
And even if they can play working
Yeah.
class very, very well, the point is, should they be?
So, a little IMDb fact which will surprise nobody. The street in which Buddy lives was actually a film set built in a disused airfield in Hampshire.
Gasp.
They probably built that set and it would probably cost more than that entire street actually cost. Do you know
And
what
it
I mean?
literally still looked like an airfield in Hampshire. That's what I thought I was looking at the whole time.
But then you could say that that's his idealised version as a child. You don't remember the litter in the streets.
Listen,
You know
guys,
what
you
I mean?
can't keep
And who-
excusing Kenneth Branagh. That was just his eyes. If he looks at everything through a child, he shouldn't be making films in the first place. You know what I mean? But did he make Thor with the eyes of a child?
What about Fanny and Alexander? I mean,
What about
that's a
that?
masterpiece.
What were you going to say there, Claire? Sorry.
Oh, thank you.
It's an Ingmar Bergman
yeah.
film.
I knew that, by the way.
Yeah, did you?
I didn't need IMDb to kind of
No,
find
but
that
did
one
you make
out.
a film based on childhood? I mean, that's an awful
Claire
lot
was
of
about to
great
say
films.
something.
Yeah, but I've seen a lot of good
Sorry,
films.
Claire.
Yeah, sorry, Claire.
Sorry, forgot what I was going to say now.
Sorry, whose idea was it to watch this film anyway?
Well, I just thought Oscar-winning film. It grossed 49 million.
Oh, so you
worldwide,
know
a
it's
budget
good, yeah.
of 11 million. So
I did find it very emotional. Now I did.
Yeah,
find
I
Oh,
it-
for
that's-
fuck's
I
sake,
could
you
not
find
show
everything
I
emotional.
And
Claire.
I, you know, but
Yeah.
music,
Cynical
there were times.
I'm not
Everything in
cynical.
this film.
You're
we
not
just
what?
went- Sorry, I'm just sick of this fucking tourist board steamrolling. Everything's great here, so therefore nothing is fucking
on,
great here.
come on,
Thank
let
you,
me
Kenneth
give it a
Branagh.
obviously, you didn't
Joe,
like this
do
film,
you want to
but
know
Claire
something?
did.
Shut the fuck up a wee second, right? And let some of the women speak. Claire's saying that she felt emotional when she watched it. I agree with you.
did.
And
I
I
did.
think that was really
Did
well
you, Claire?
placed
I did.
music as well, does that, doesn't it?
That's fucking emotional. He's totally manipulating. That was
It's called
absolutely
empathy.
cynical, saccharine hallmark.
I
Claire.
am happy to be wrong about it because it goes to show you how we like yourself, cynical Sally over in the corner there.
I'm
We're
just telling it as it
really
is.
like predisposed to automatically. Oh, he made it out of here. He's not one of us anymore. Do you know? And I get it. All right,
Which
Kenneth.
is a very parochial attitude, if
Yeah.
you ask
Yeah.
me.
You
How
know,
offensive
yeah.
is it for those that remained or didn't get out? Fuck you, Kenneth Branagh, with your fucking knighthood and
Well,
your
how dare
and
he
the
go
divorce
off
with
and
Emma
have a life?
Thompson and
How
your
He
dare
other.
he
had a
do
choice
good for
about it.
himself?
He was 8. I'm like, how would you want us to be represented? I mean, I don't really understand what would make you happy. Is
Good
there
script,
too much
decent acting.
troubles? Not enough troubles?
But how about just not even talking about that? How about moving forward, talking about something else about
So
here?
what's an acceptable film from here then?
What do you call your man that did all the movies or the songs? Terry Hooley.
Oh,
Good
aye.
Vibrations.
Oh, yeah.
Vibrations.
What about Odd Man Out then?
That's a great film. That is a good film.
Is that okay? I mean, I don't think the accents were terribly authentic in that.
They
but
weren't
it's
very
still a good
authentic, but
film.
it was 1940s. James Mason plays an IRA. I am an IRA now. Or-
What do you say?
The Crying Game.
The Crying Game.
I watched it years ago, but didn't win an Oscar. Who won an
It
Oscar?
won an
It
Oscar
did,
for
yes.
best.
Oh, it did.
What about
I did not
Titanic?
know
Is that a Belfast film? Titanic.
Well,
Again, going back to Belfast, is that all right if I go
Yeah,
back to
yeah,
that
yeah.
for just for women? You know, just this idea of kind of finding the joy and, you know, I don't know, I think sometimes we get a wee bit fixated on all the misery. When I think back to my own personal childhood, and my sister and I, not too far away from Clifton Park Avenue, not too far away from where the film was set, and we lived opposite an army barracks, and I remember somebody coming up to the street and saying to my sister, "Are you Catholic or Protestant?" And we just looked at each other and had to go in and ask my mum because we didn't really know.
And what are you, Claire?
The thing is, there's always, it's objective. There's always going to be people who are, what about? Whenever you're trying to sort of please everybody, you end up with this kind of, you know, bland thing.
Totally. Well, I think that film is a perfect example of whataboutery. He was terrified to commit. I think if you're going to make something about here, commit to a story and a narrative, and don't be afraid to follow it through.
But then
Stop
his
pulling your
father was, he was very non-partisan in it, and they were trying to get him to choose a side.
Who, Jimmy Dornan?
In
Yeah.
Belfast. You know, there were a lot of men that were just there trying to earn their crust.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
And that didn't want to take part in it.
None of that was explained. It was just some people are bad in the community, some people are good in the community.
No, I
That's
think
very
that was. I do
simplistic.
think that did come across
I
because
thought
he
that was
said you
clear
have to
enough to
pick a
me.
side.
Well,
I thought that was
this
clear.
is why you all loved it, and I didn't so much care for it.
Before Buddy's mother gave the wee talk in the bus to the da, I was going, just fucking leave.
I know.
I'd left. What? Australia? Get out of
We
here.
haven't mentioned her actually, and she was a superb actress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As well.
Do you think she was too good looking?
So here, Jamie Dornan, the granddad, and the guy that was in the UVF, shag, marry, kill. Get in the fucking lagging.
I don't care how hot you are, you loyalist murderer.
But here, I never got to.
That's so Belfast, isn't it?
Get out.
Belfast brought to you
Get
from
out.
Field and
Come
Hampshire.
back to England.
Hiya.
Oh, yeah.
Boring.
Okay, right, sorry. 1 wee second, we got to go over here. We just have to do our pledge. Right.
The pledge.
And then next week. Okay, ready? Thanks to the Belfast Film Society. We promise to review films with the integrity and impartiality for all our communities. Our endeavour is that the film industry will be supported by vibrant and diverse cultural voices, recognised and celebrated equally
and
abroad
abroad for the cultural and
educational
educational
benefits
benefits of Northern Ireland. So help me God.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week. Right, Fanny and Alexander next week then.
Bonnie and Alexander.
Looking forward.
6 hours of childhood memories.
Love it.
Love it, love it, love it.
Filmed in a field in Hampshire, eh?
Yeah.
Right. Like Kenneth Branagh, I'm out of here.
Wow, this car's automatic. It's systematic. It's hydromatic. Why, it's grease lightning! Grease lightning! We'll get some overhead lifters and some 4-barrel quads.